The stars were silent witnesses. They watched civilizations rise, flourish, and fade like sparks in a cosmic storm. They watched empires conquer worlds and then collapse under their own arrogance. And sometimes they watched something far rarer. They watched mercy. Commander Liara Vex stood alone on the observation platform of the massive orbital station known as Kareth Prime, staring out through the transparent alloy viewport into the cold emptiness of space. Her silver eyes reflected the distant light of 1,000 suns, but none of them warmed her. Behind her, the chamber buzzed with quiet voices. Members of the Council of the Sovereign Alliance, the most powerful interstellar coalition in the known galaxy. Representatives of 12 species sat in a vast circular hall, their forms as varied as the planets they came from. Towering reptilian warlords. Floating crystalline intellects. Massive insectoid strategists. Elegant avian diplomats. All of them had gathered for one purpose. To judge her. Liara could feel their eyes on her back, heavy with accusation. Finally, the central podium illuminated, and the council's presiding voice echoed across the chamber. Commander Liara Vex of the Tauran Dominion, you stand accused of treason against your species. The words hung in the air like a blade. Liara slowly turned around. Her long white hair drifted slightly in the artificial gravity field, and the faint blue markings along her skin glowed softly, the natural bioluminescence of the Tauran race. I did not commit treason, she said calmly. A deep growling voice responded from across the chamber. You disobeyed a direct extermination order. The speaker was General Karath, a towering reptilian warrior from the Drakari Empire. His armored scales reflected the chamber lights like polished obsidian. You spared a primitive species scheduled for eradication, he continued. Murmurs spread across the council. Liara met his gaze without fear. They were not a threat. They were human, Karath hissed. That single word carried weight. Humans. A species from a distant yellow star system called Sol. Primitive by galactic standards. Violent by reputation. Unpredictable. The Sovereign Alliance had encountered them only recently, and the reports were troubling. Humans fought each other constantly. They invented weapons faster than most species invented art. They survived environmental disasters that would wipe out entire civilizations. And worst of all, they refused to submit. To the Council, humanity represented chaos. And chaos had to be controlled. Or eliminated. They were developing faster than projected, said another council member, an insectoid strategist named Virex. Within 3 centuries they could have become a destabilizing force. Liara crossed her arms. Or they could become allies. The chamber erupted into laughter. A tall avian diplomat leaned forward. Allies? With them. Liara didn't flinch. Yes. General Karath slammed his massive claw onto the podium. You disobeyed the Council's extermination directive. You sabotaged the sterilization fleet and allowed humanity to survive. Silence fell. Liara knew this moment had been coming for months. The day she intercepted the command to destroy Earth. The day she realized what the Council truly feared. It wasn't humanity's violence. It was humanity's potential. I saw their broadcasts, Liara said quietly. The Council members exchanged confused glances. Broadcasts? Virex asked. Music, she continued. Stories. Art. And something none of you expected. She paused. Hope. Another ripple of laughter. Hope does not win wars, Karath snarled. No, Liara replied. But it survives them. The presiding counselor raised a glowing hand. Enough. The chamber fell silent again. Commander Liara Vex, you have admitted to violating a direct order of the Sovereign Alliance. The council's voice became colder. The penalty for such an act is clear. Liara already knew what was coming. Exile. Not death. Something worse. You are hereby stripped of rank, citizenship, and protection of the Tauran Dominion. The word struck like thunder. You are no longer recognized as one of us. A metallic drone floated forward carrying a small crystalline device. Your command codes have been erased. Your genetic registry has been deleted. You are alone. Liara stared at the floor. For the first time since the trial began, her composure cracked slightly. Not from fear. From loss. Her entire life had been built around the Dominion. Her career. Her identity. Her people. Gone. All council vessels are ordered to deny you aid, the presiding voice continued. If you are encountered within Alliance territory, you will be treated as an unaffiliated alien entity. Pause. Then the final sentence. You are exiled. The chamber lights dimmed. And just like that, Liara Vex ceased to exist. 2 hours later, she walked through the silent corridors of a small shuttle bay. No escort. No ceremony. Just emptiness. Her old command uniform had been replaced with a plain traveler's suit. The Tauran Dominion insignia had been removed from her shoulder. She was no longer Commander Vex. Just Liara. Her assigned shuttle sat waiting near the far wall, an aging civilian craft barely capable of interstellar travel. Clearly chosen to ensure she wouldn't go far. Liara ran her fingers along its hull. "They really want me gone," she muttered. A voice suddenly spoke behind her. "Council tends to do that." Liara spun around instantly. Standing in the shadows of the hangar was a figure she did not expect to see. Ambassador Thalen. One of the few Tauran representatives on the council. His tall, elegant form stepped forward slowly. "You shouldn't be here," Liara said. He nodded. "I know." "Then why are you?" Thalen looked around to ensure the bay was empty. Then he walked closer. "Because someone needed to tell you the truth." Liara frowned. "The truth about what?" Thalen lowered his voice. "The council is afraid." "Of humanity?" Liara asked. "Yes. But not for the reasons they claim." Liara's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Thalen leaned against the shuttle. "They believe humans will eventually surpass the Alliance." "That's impossible," Liara said. "They're centuries behind." Thalen shook his head. "No. Not centuries. Decades." Liara's heart skipped. "That fast?" Thalen nodded slowly. "Their technological growth curve is abnormal." He activated a small holographic projector. Charts appeared in the air. Human innovation rates. Industrial expansion. AI development. Spaceflight progress. Liara stared. The curve wasn't linear. It was explosive. "They adapt faster than any species we've studied," Thalen said quietly. "And they fight harder than anyone predicted." Liara crossed her arms. "So the council wants to wipe them out before they become powerful?" "Yes." Silence filled the shuttle bay. Then Liara asked the question that had been haunting her. "Why tell me this?" Thalen looked directly at her. "Because you were right." Liara blinked. "What?" "About hope." He deactivated the projector. "The council believes humanity will either destroy the galaxy, or save it." Liara felt a strange chill. "And they'd rather not take the risk." Thalen nodded. "That's why they exiled you instead of executing you. Public execution would draw attention to the truth." He gestured toward her shuttle. "But an exile? Quiet. Forgettable." Liara looked at the small ship again. "So what now?" Thalen smiled faintly. "That depends on you." He handed her a small data crystal. Part 2. The Human Who Refused to Give Up. The jump through hyperspace lasted 12 hours. To Liara it felt like a lifetime. She sat alone in the cockpit, watching stars distort into endless ribbons of light outside the shuttle's viewport. The hum of the engines was uneven, occasionally sputtering as if the old ship itself doubted the journey. "Come on," she muttered, tapping the control panel. The console responded with a tired beep. Despite the shuttle's condition, it continued pushing forward toward a system the Galactic Council had already marked for extinction. The Sol System. Liara leaned back in her chair and studied the star ahead. A small yellow sun. Unremarkable by galactic standards. Yet around it lived a species that had somehow convinced her to betray everything she once believed in. Humans. She remembered the first time she saw them. It wasn't through official diplomatic channels or military surveillance. It was through a random broadcast intercepted by one of her long-range scanners. A human song. A soft voice singing about loss, hope, and rebuilding after tragedy. The translation algorithms struggled with the lyrics, but the emotion carried through perfectly. That was the moment Liara realized something the Council had missed. Humans didn't just survive hardship. They transformed it into strength. The navigation console suddenly chimed. Destination reached. The hyperspace tunnel collapsed. Stars snapped back into place. And there it was. The Sol System. Liara's eyes widened slightly. She expected a primitive system with scattered satellites and barely functioning stations. Instead she saw something surprising. Dozens of ships. Human ships. Small cargo vessels. Mining platforms orbiting asteroids. Construction arrays near Mars. It wasn't impressive by Alliance standards, but the speed of development was shocking. "They've advanced faster than predicted," Liara whispered. Then the sensor started screaming. Multiple ships changing course. Weapons locking. A voice suddenly burst through the comm channel. Unidentified vessel, this is Earth Defense Command. Power down your engines and identify yourself immediately. The voice was human. Come. But cautious. Liara sighed. Well, here we go. She activated the transmitter. This is Liara Vex, former commander of the Tauran Dominion. Silence filled the channel. Then the human voice returned, far more tense. Repeat that identification. I'm not hostile, Liara said. And I'm here because your species is in danger. The channel went silent again. Finally, the human responded. Hold position. 3 human ships approached cautiously. They were small warships, nothing compared to Alliance destroyers, but they moved with surprising confidence. One of them docked with Liara's shuttle. Minutes later the airlock opened. Liara stood as footsteps echoed through the corridor. A human walked into the cockpit. He looked ordinary. Brown hair. Simple gray uniform. No armor. But his eyes carried a sharp focus that instantly caught her attention. Name's Captain Daniel Carter, he said. Liara studied him carefully. You're the one in charge? Right now? Yeah. He folded his arms. So let me get this straight. You show up alone in alien space claiming you used to command a galactic fleet. Then you say Earth is in danger. He tilted his head slightly. Why should I believe you? Liara didn't hesitate. Because your species was scheduled for extermination. The room fell silent. Daniel stared at her. Then he laughed. Not nervously. Genuinely. You're serious? Yes. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. Well, that's not great news. Liara blinked. That's your reaction? What do you want me to do? He replied with a shrug. Panic? She wasn't sure if he was brave or insane. An Alliance fleet will eventually come to finish the mission, she said. Hundreds of ships. Technology far beyond yours. Daniel leaned against the wall. And you came to warn us. Yes. Why? Liara hesitated. Then she answered honestly. Because I believe humanity deserves a chance. Daniel studied her face. You got exiled for that, didn't you? Liara nodded. Yeah, he said quietly. Humans know something about that. She raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Daniel smiled faintly. We've been underestimating each other for thousands of years. Liara frowned. That makes no sense. It does if you're human. He turned toward the airlock. Come on. Where are we going? She asked. To Earth. Liara froze. You're taking me to your homeworld? Yep. That's extremely risky. Daniel shrugged. Welcome to humanity. Part 3, the day the galaxy learned about humanity. Earth was beautiful. Liara hadn't expected that. From orbit, the planet looked vibrant and alive. Blue oceans swirling beneath white clouds, continents glowing under the sun. It felt peaceful. Hard to believe this place produces so many wars, she said. Daniel smirked. Yeah. Imagine how dangerous we'd be if we were peaceful. Liara wasn't sure if he was joking. Over the next several weeks, Liara worked with Earth scientists and military leaders. She explained the Sovereign Alliance. Their technology. Their ships. Their strategies. Humanity listened carefully. But they didn't panic. Instead they started building. Factories ran day and night. Orbital shipyards expanded. Experimental weapons programs accelerated. Liara watched it all in disbelief. You're preparing for war, she said one evening. Daniel nodded. We've been preparing for war since the first rock someone threw. That won't be enough, Liara warned. You've never fought the Alliance. Daniel leaned back in his chair. True. But they've never fought humans either. Months passed. Then the sensors detected something terrifying. The Alliance fleet. Over 200 warships emerging at the edge of the Sol system. Liara felt her stomach tighten. They came sooner than expected. Daniel stood beside her on the command deck. Well, he said. Guess it's showtime. Human fleets moved to intercept. Dozens of ships formed defensive lines around Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt. Compared to the Alliance fleet they looked tiny. Hopeless. Liara whispered, You can still evacuate the planet. Daniel shook his head. No. Humans don't run when someone threatens our home. The Alliance fleet transmitted a message. This is General Karath of the Sovereign Alliance. Prepare for planetary sterilization. Liara's heart sank. Daniel stepped forward. Open a channel. The bridge officer hesitated. Sir? Just do it. The transmission connected. Karatha's massive reptilian face appeared on the screen. Then his eyes widened. Liara. Hello, General, she said calmly. You betrayed us again, Karath snarled. Actually, Daniel interrupted. She joined us. Karath laughed. You think a primitive species can resist the Alliance? Daniel grinned. Honestly? No idea. But we're about to find out. He turned to his crew. Execute Plan B. Liara frowned. You never told me about a Plan B. Daniel winked. Surprise. Suddenly hundreds of small objects launched from human ships. Drones. Thousands of them. They spread across space like a metallic storm. What are those? Liara asked. Daniel smiled. Human creativity. The drones began attaching themselves to Alliance ships. Moments later, massive explosions erupted across the enemy fleet. Energy shields collapsed. Weapon systems failed. Entire ships went dark. Liara stared in disbelief. EMP drones? Something like that, Daniel said. Human warships surged forward. Railguns fired. Missiles streaked through space. The Alliance fleet, once invincible, fell into chaos. Within an hour, the battle was over. Half the Alliance fleet was destroyed. The rest retreated. Liara stared at the tactical display. You won. Daniel shrugged. We improvised. Improvised? She repeated. That strategy could reshape interstellar warfare. Yeah, he said casually. Humans do that sometimes. Days later, a message arrived from the Sovereign Alliance. Not a threat. A request. They wanted negotiations. For the first time in galactic history, humanity had forced the Alliance to the table. Liara stood beside Daniel as the diplomatic meeting began. Looks like you were right, Daniel said quietly. About what? Hope. Liara looked out the window at Earth. Her new home. No, she replied softly. I was right about humanity. Daniel smiled. And humanity was right about you. Far away in deep space, the Council watched humanity's rise with growing realization. They had tried to erase a species they didn't understand. Instead, they had created the galaxy's most powerful ally. And it all started because one woman refused to follow orders. One exile. One human. One choice that changed the fate of the stars.